we're running with. And as I mentioned last week, and as you guys have seen on Twitter, the teases that I had on Twitter, we tonight have a special guest to talk about the Super Bowl that just took place over the weekend. The co-host of the Drop and Dime podcast, Marc Magana. He'll be joining us around 6:30 tonight. But as I mentioned, we've got some upgrades. As you see, there's some widgets on the screen. So we've got some upgrades going as far as everything moving forward. So moving on with the show, we're going to continue to have special guests, interviews, and a lot more additions to the show. So hopefully you guys like it. We've got a few things that we're doing tonight. Number one, obviously Mark's going to join us at 6:30. And then we have a box that we're going to rip tonight. Topps Gold Label Baseball from 2020. We're going to give away a couple cards out of this. I want to thank Fanatics for providing the box tonight. And Costco, because I kind of used one of those $100 coupons from Costco, or $100 gift cards from Costco that I only paid $80 for. So saved $20 on that. One thing I do want to, since we're talking a little bit of sports cards to start with, excuse me, one thing that did come out last week that I did want to bring a little attention to, and I want to do this because I don't normally show a lot of love over to Leaf, and I'm not a big fan of unlicensed product, as you guys, a lot of you guys know. And I bought a couple of the Leaf Metal Draft baseball, and I have not bought a Leaf Metal Draft product hobby box in probably 2-3 years. And so I bought a hobby box and a jumbo box this year, and I just want to show you guys the results of said boxes, and it kind of changed my opinion. This has actually sat well with me. And so I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Leaf on the quality of these cards and the design of these cards, in no particular order because I've already mixed them up. But the cards really do look fantastic. So that's a Robert Hassel top picks, and that one's numbered out of 4, numbered 3 of 4. Okay, these boxes were filled with color, filled with parallels, and several of them on-card autos, which was very impressive. A couple of the other big ones, I'm not going to go through all of them, just because, but you see some of the color and the designs of them. The top picks. So these are, they've got the atomic or the cracked ice look to some of them. Not all of them were numbered, but they're rather impressive. No, I'm not going to rip McDonald's Pokemon cards. I'm not a Pokemon collector. I haven't been able to get into it. My son loves it, and I really do try, but it's not my thing at all. I just haven't been able to get into it. My wife loves them too. I just can't get into them. But a couple of the big ones that did come out of this Leaf Metal Draft, I did pull a Top Picks Spencer Torkelson auto, and then a black refractor, I guess we'll call it, because I don't know what Leaf calls their mirrors, refractors, prisms, whatever they want to call it, but a black of Pete Crow Armstrong, if I can get that to not glare. Come on. Pete Crow Armstrong, numbered out of just 15. And then the biggest one out of it was a State Pride autograph of J.J. Goss, which would be a gold vinyl 1 of 1, I guess you'd call it in terms of Panini. And then in the jumbo box, you get one slabbed card. And I got a 1 of 1 pre-production proof, of the clear gold Yeti cap. So pretty neat stuff. So again, just because I don't give props to Leaf very often, because of my not being a huge fan of unlicensed product, those are pretty dang nice. So if you do see Leaf Metal Draft Hobby or Jumbo boxes at a reasonable price, it's not a bad buy. It's all autographs. There was no non-autographed cards in the boxes. Now I know that there's Leaf Metal Draft retail as well, so just don't get them confused. The Leaf Metal Draft non-hot, like the blasters and stuff, I believe have base cards. Yeah, I did, David. It is what it is. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless. Pokemon has a ton of value in it right now. Everything collectibles has a ton of value in them right now. So, I mean, I collect Funko Pops, so I mean, I guess I can't really disparage the guys that do Pokemon when I sit here and collect Funko Pops. So, a couple other products that are coming out tomorrow. Big release day for sports cards. The first Topps branded 2021 baseball product, Topps Series 1, comes out tomorrow. Hobbies, jumbos hitting the market. You're already seeing the retail pop out. Short prints already being listed on eBay. Blasters being sold. All that kind of fun stuff. It's already hitting the retailers. But Series 1 Jumbo and Series 1 Hobby boxes are available starting tomorrow. Shameless plug on my own website. Go to sportstuffhub.com, and I've got a couple of jumbos and a couple of hobbies left if anybody wants to buy one. Thank you for everybody that has bought on the website already. Much appreciated. That is true. Pops are not in children's meals. That is accurate. But it's Pokemon. It's the craze. There's a ton of collectors. There's a ton of people that flip stuff for value. It is what it is. I guess I'm kind of indifferent about it. It is what it is. On top of Series 1 baseball coming out tomorrow, we have Optic football dropping tomorrow as well. Hobby boxes and the H2, the hobby hybrids, are releasing tomorrow as well. So make sure, please, for the love of God, when you're price shopping boxes or price comparing boxes, look at what type of box it is. If you see a box for under $750, it's the H2 version. It's not the hobby box. The hobby boxes you will not find for under, probably by now, $799, I think is what they go on Panini's website tomorrow. You will not find hobby boxes cheaper than $825 to $840 at the cheapest right now. The H2 hybrids you can find for around, I think, $700 right now. So just make sure, if you're price comparing or if you're talking to anybody about box prices, that you're differentiating between the two. It's essentially the H2 version is like the no huddle or the fast break, or that kind of stuff. So just make sure you're differentiating between the two. But looking forward to Optic tomorrow. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really do like Optic, and it looks fantastic this year. So I thought it was going to look good based off of this year's Don Russ release. I did like the design of it. So I'm kind of looking forward to some of the Don Russ inserts that they had in the chromium finish. They're nice cards. I did not look and see if the Night Moves checklist, or if Night Moves was in the checklist for Optic. I really hope it is. But I believe somebody told me they peeked, they saw a release of the checklist or of the sets that are going to be in it, and Night Moves was not listed, which is unfortunate, because if you never saw the Night Moves from Don Russ, Google it. They are beautiful cards. There's a local guy here, his name is Albert, that is a collector, and he has the Russell Wilson, and it looks amazing. He got it slabbed. They look fantastic, and I want to say the Night Moves were like I want to say they were like 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 cases, so they're They're not like Kabooms. They're not like Downtowns. They're harder to hit than that. So it's a nice set. But they should have Downtowns in them this year in Optic. And then they should have White Hot Rookies and Red Hot Rookies, I believe, in the Chromium for Optic this year. A lot of stuff I'm looking forward to with Optic. So I do plan on ripping a box or two. I have my boxes that I pre-ordered for sale on the website that are showing up tomorrow. And then I have my 2 boxes that I bought for myself personally showing up on a different shipment tomorrow. Hopefully showing up tomorrow. I guess we're supposed to be starting to get some bad weather starting tomorrow here in the Pacific Northwest, or maybe that's not coming until Thursday. But I'm hoping my Optic boxes show up tomorrow so that I can rip some Optic tomorrow and potentially even put up a video. Looking forward to that. On top of that, then, we don't really have much else coming out this week for sports cards. We do have this week that came out the new TriStar jerseys, autographed jerseys came out. Those came out actually, I believe, Friday of last week. But I know a few people had some delays in getting them, and because of the wholesalers having a delay. And then next week, let's see here. Next week is the 17th. Wednesday of next week will be the 17th. So that means Certified Basketball comes out next week. I believe we have 1 football release next week, and I want to say it's Panini Limited Football. I think Plates and Patches comes out the following week. So we've only got 1 football release coming out next week, and then we have 1 basketball release coming out next week. No baseball next week. Baseball opening day, I believe, is April 1st this year, if I recall correctly, is what I read. And we've got about 4 or 5 releases coming between now and then. A couple of which being definitive. And then obviously opening day comes out between now and then as well. So there's going to be a few more baseball products hitting the market before the season starts. And it looks like we're going to see guys like Christian Pache and Joe Adele in the rookie class for this year. Because it sounds like they got called up and they're going to be starting the beginning of the season. So we're going to see that in this year's product, which is, with Joe Adele, especially for the Angels, could potentially be one of the driving ships in prices this year. And then obviously Christian Pache got called up end of last year, but not at a point where he could make any of last year's product as a rookie. So the Atlanta Braves, again, are going to be another team that in breaks are going to be expensive, as well as the Angels. And the Angels typically are anyways if Mike Trout's in the product, whether he has a refractor or a case hit or an autograph. The Angels are always a freaking, top 5 price team. Alec Boehm's another one. Thank you, David. Alec Boehm's another one that's going to really be driving that ship. Now, anything that has the draft picks in it, obviously, then we're going to be talking the Spencer Torkelsons, the Pete Crow Armstrongs, the Jason Dominguez, all that stuff. If it's got the prospects in it, is going to drive the ship as well. But the rookie class, I don't expect anybody in this year's baseball rookie class to quite do what Luis Robert did last year in terms of value. But I think we've got 3 or 4 rookies this year that definitely will keep the product value decent. Especially since hobby boxes for Top Series 1 right now are already fetching $135, $145, $155, which is pretty unheard of, because in recent years, typically the hobby boxes were around $99. Yeah, so that's our sports cards we've got coming out. And again, shameless plug on the website. I got Optic up on the website still. Only a couple boxes left of that. And then a handful of Series 1 baseball, hobbies, and jumbos. Got a little bit left of that one. I want to say a half dozen boxes of each. But they will sell quick. Especially when I listed all my prices, I put it, just a hair under where the big retailers were. I never check eBay for where eBay's at on prices for boxes, because I don't trust most eBay sellers for selling hobby boxes anyways, or any wax for that matter, because most eBay sellers are probably either weighing their product or they're selling dead cases. You know, they'll burn through and find the case hits or the big cards, and then they'll sell off the rest of it just to kind of make up some lost money. So I typically don't check that, but I did see today that the price that I had listed for both hobbies and jumbos, not only did all the big retailers jump up even higher than where I was to begin with, but now eBay has surpassed the pricing that I had on there as well. So, I mean, I guess I'm one of the cheapest places on the market right now to get Series 1 baseball. But I mean, I'm not going to raise prices on stuff, and I said this in a tweet earlier today, and I've told people this a dozen times. When it comes to wax, when I buy it at a price and I set the price prior to product coming out, I'm not raising the price on my product regardless of what happens in the market. I'm not going to raise the price of my product until I've sold out of what that price was that I paid. Once I've sold out and I have to rebuy it at a higher cost, then I might have to raise my price depending on where, you know, if I do have to get pay a higher price. Now, work coming down, on the other hand, is a whole different story. If I've got a box where I've got room to sell it at a little bit of a profit, and the market comes down on it, and all of a sudden I'm selling it at cost, so be it. But I'm not going to raise my prices just because the big guys out there raised their prices, and all of a sudden, because eBay sales started spiking, I'm going to sell it at what I originally listed it at. That's what I'm going to do until I sell out. Once it sells out, I'll start shopping again, and then I'll start looking at if I can even buy it and sell it without losing money. So, yeah, just so you guys know, anytime you want to buy wax, check out the website. Brian Hayes, I don't know if he's going to be a rookie this year. Regardless of if he's not in Series 1, he could get called up later and be in Series 2 or Update. So I don't know if he's going to be in the checklist in Series 1 or if he'll hit Series 2 or Update later on. Let's see here. All right. We're going to talk a little bit of Super Bowl here real quick before Marc comes on. Marc's going to be in here in about 5 minutes. So we're going to talk a little bit about Super Bowl leading into that. You guys all watched the Super Bowl, I'm assuming. Tampa Bay absolutely laid a beat down on Kansas City, which was kind of unexpected by a lot of people. A lot of people thought Tampa Bay was going to lose, or KC was going to win, or that it was going to be a close game, and it really wasn't. And I would probably say that I definitely was blown away by how the defense for Tampa Bay handled this game. They essentially shut down the receivers for Kansas City in ways that I didn't think was possible, especially after the matchup that they had earlier this year. But one thing that does stand out to me is how Bruce Arians has handled things. And a quote that he had from several weeks ago when asked about having Tom Brady was, he'd mentioned that having Tom Brady was like having another coach. He's letting Tom Brady coach because that's what Tom Brady does. And he did it fantastically for this game. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Bruce Arians did nothing, but having Tom Brady on the team this year helped Bruce Arians be able to step away from the offense a little bit and work with his defensive coordinators and really game plan. If you look at if you look at Tampa Bay over the last 8 games, including the postseason, they were one of the best teams in the NFL. And they might have a couple of bad games, but they are absolutely phenomenal over the last 8 games. And a lot of that was because things started to click. Tom Brady was working with the offense. Things were getting rolling. Antonio Brown was starting to click. The run game was starting to click. The receivers were catching the balls. The receivers were playing well. People were coming back healthy. Because I know they did have some health problems earlier in the year, as far as a couple of people missing for COVID. We had a couple of injuries. And so the last 8 weeks of the season, or the last 8 games, I should say, including the playoffs, Kansas City just turned into a very, very good football team, despite Tom Brady not having to be a 4 touchdown-a-game guy. They had the balance. They had the defense that came out, and they did very well. And that's kind of what I expect to see from a Tom Brady type of team going into the playoffs. Because it didn't matter when you looked at the Patriots through the Tom Brady era. It didn't matter how they started the first 8 games of the season. The problems for other teams came in the second half of the season and going into the playoffs, because the Patriots, or Tom Brady for that matter, was very tough to beat in December and next to impossible to beat in January. And it's a lot of people have been talking about the Patriot way, the New England way of doing things, and now it's become a question of, was it really the Patriot way, or was it more Tom Brady way? And now with him being in Tampa Bay, it kind of solidified really that question. So now going into next season, we've got questions of when the next season rolls around, Tom Brady is going to be back. Is Gronk going to come back? Is AB going to come back? Mike Evans has already said, I'll take pay cuts. I want to keep this core together. So there's a lot of questions to look at when it comes to moving into the 21 season for Tampa Bay. But when it boils down to it, they could probably have a lot of those questions answered within a couple of weeks, and everybody's going to be going, Super Bowl contender. I mean, they look legit. So, all right, well, we are going to move forward with our guest, and I want to bring on, and if you guys are unfamiliar, I'm introducing a man who's been featured on Red Cup News, Pro Football Network, Fox Sports, The Bucks Report, and he's been to Africa a handful of times. Overall good guy, and co-host of the Droppin' a Dime podcast, Marc Magana. Welcome, Marc.
Bam.
Thanks.
Thank you for that introduction, brother.
You're very welcome. It's good to see you, man, and looking good, and just came back from Tampa Bay.
Now, hold on 1 second, Ryan. I am having trouble hearing you.
Oh.
Let's see if it will. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, there we go. We're good. Sorry about that.
No problem. So you flew to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So you were around for the festivities. How fun was that after that win, being just around it all?
Yeah, man, it was a blast. Honestly, it was the first time I had ever been down to Tampa, so I was pretty excited to get down there. And, I had the opportunity to get on Bucks Report's live show and do kind of a pregame for the Super Bowl. I'm not that I'm biased at all with my Bucks flag hanging over my shoulder, but it was pretty exciting, so I got a chance to do that and participate in that. And just being in the city, it was buzzing. A lot of Tampa stuff all over, I guess that's to be expected. But really, really an awesome time. And in terms of, how was the experience, I had 7 hours of sleep in about 2 days. So now you have an idea as to, we were having a great time, man, celebrating and Tampa getting the victory from the Lightning as well. And then, the Rays were in the World Series as well. So it's been an exciting year for Tampa fans, and I'm only a Bucks fan, but you can still feel the excitement kind of carrying over to, of course, the Super Bowl. So. Absolutely.
And with everything that's happened with Tampa sports lately, and I know with the Rays making the World Series, and then the Randy Arozarena craze in Tampa, and I know you're not a Rays fan, but was that something that was still going on? That, I mean, it doesn't matter that they lost in the World Series. The fact that they went to the World Series, was that still something that you could tell the fans were still pretty juiced about that?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you could. I mean, even talking, because of course most of the people that I interact with in Tampa are all fans of the Rays and the Lightning, and so you could still feel the carryover of the excitement. And since you talk about baseball, I'm a Dodgers fan, So right as soon as the World Series would come up, there was a little bit of tension, but you could still feel, that they were excited about the Rays, and they talked. Of course, Rosarena was amazing in the World Series, so they talked a lot about him. And whenever we did get into conversations about that, you could tell there was a little bit of tension because all I had to really say, of course they know I'm Dodger fan, so it was a little bit tense. But I mean, Rosarena was incredible, and Dodgers fan or not, it was awesome to watch him in the World Series and perform at that level. So yeah, you could definitely tell. And the Lightning too. A lot of them are huge Lightning fans, and the Lightning have been knocking on the door for the past couple of years, and so for them to finally get one, I know that was huge too, and you could still feel the excitement from that.
Yeah, and it'll be impressive if Tampa Bay has a successful season again and ends up back in the World Series.
Yeah,
we're going to be talking about Tampa Bay sports becoming a dominant city.
Yeah.
To start off, actually to wrap up the 20 teens and moving into the 2020s.
Yeah.
And could you imagine a potential repeat for the Bucks, a repeat for the Lightning, and then Tampa Bay getting back to the World Series, and then potentially winning their first, and Tampa Bay just becoming electric.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was already this time, the day after the Super Bowl, there was already, Tampa local radio. I listened to it for a little while, and there was already this title town buzz. Tampa's the new title town. You could feel, how it is. But and it's funny because, hanging out with a couple buddies, I'm a Lakers fan as well. And so they brought up the title town thing, and I'm like, well, hold up. Los Angeles got, you know what I mean? So there's that whole, but it was fun. And yeah, you could definitely feel the buzz from the city and the fans, of course. It's exciting.
Yeah. Now Tampa Bay needs an NBA team so that they can go with the quad. Yeah. And that would be impressive. But we need it back in Seattle here first before we go Tampa. With
I
the
agree.
NBA.
I agree. I want to see Seattle. Honestly, I want to see a Seattle team before I'd like to see a Tampa team. I mean, that's feels right. And I'm not, really a Seattle fan, but it feels right to have them, have a team back there. It would be cool. So
absolutely. And kind of getting off topic here from the Super Bowl, but did you see head coach for the Warriors, Kerr,
yeah,
how he mentioned that it doesn't feel right not having the Sonics in the NBA right now?
Right. Yeah.
The support that has been coming out from former players and coaches and everything about bringing the Sonic back has been so awesome to see.
Mm-hmm.
Even current players, when you hear Kevin Durant talk about it, and Kevin Durant wants the Sonics back.
Right.
He wants to finish his career as a Sonic. And imagine by 2023, 24, we get the Sonics back.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant plays 1-2 seasons and then hangs it up a Sonic.
Right. That'd be awesome. And the storylines, the 30 for 30, that would come from that, right? I mean, Supersonics back and KD, comes back, so there's that excitement for sure. But I mean, it would be cool to see. I would be excited.
Yep. Okay, so getting back over to the topic at hand, the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So being in Tampa Bay, you said that you got to be on the Bucks Report?
Yeah, I did a pregame show with Bucks Report. We did like a live show from a restaurant. The pregame actually started at 2:00 local time, so it was a 4.5 hours. It was a big show, and we had people in the restaurant and got to do all that, and that was a pretty cool opportunity to do that live. I've been on the show and I've written for them, but obviously I've never been in Florida, so to do that for.
Marc. No.
Really fun.
We lost. Hang on, Marc.
Can you hear me?
I'm
back. If you're back,
there we go. Okay,
lost,
you're back.
I'm here. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I don't know if you're there.
So hanging out with the guys from the Bucks Report.
Yeah.
Now, were you hanging out with them during the Super Bowl and everything as well then?
Yeah. We watched the Super Bowl in basically the same place where we did the show. We just watched it right there at the restaurant and did that.
Awesome. What was the atmosphere? How far? Well, let me get into this. How far away from the stadium were you for that?
About 25 to 35 minutes. So not super far, but not next to it necessarily either. We were in St. Petersburg.
Okay. So just outside of Tampa then. Right on. But
basically.
was the atmosphere still pretty? Everybody pumped for it. Everybody's wearing their Bucks gear. Was it? I mean, just
Yeah.
like you. It was it almost like you were in Tampa Bay still.
I kind of felt like it was, but then again, maybe somebody who's local from Tampa might tell me no because I've also never been there. But I mean, it felt live to me, I mean, it felt, and I saw all Bucks jerseys, of course. There was a Brady Patriots jersey or two, which was a little, but but I guess support the guy, whatever it is, what it is.
Yeah.
It's still supporting the right team, so it's not that
Yep.
bad.
Exactly. So getting into a little bit of game recap. Um, I don't think we've seen a defensive dominant performance like this, aside from maybe Seahawks Broncos. And I know a few people were talking about it being reminiscent of that game, aside from the fact that it didn't start off with a bad fumble and whatnot. But when it
Yeah.
boils down to it, I don't believe that there's been any any massive difference between two defenses in one game before. And
Yeah.
and ESPN put this out. Patrick Mahomes pressured 29 times, while Tom Brady pressured just 4. So really, it was the biggest difference between two teams in any Super Bowl. So, but now,
Yeah.
granted, they only started tracking that, 2009 it says. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
so when you were watching this and you guys were breaking this down, what did you guys see from a defensive side that was so different this game to the regular season game where Kansas City just was unstoppable?
Right. Yeah, I mean the big thing I think for the Bucks was Jamel Dean, honestly, the fastest corner on the roster for the Bucks didn't play in that first game, and obviously, when you're dealing with a guy like Tyreek Hill, you're going to need some speed, and that's not exactly Carlton Davis's strong suit, and that's our starting corner Carlton Davis. So I think it was a little bit of a mismatch from the beginning in that aspect. And the other big thing that I think we started to see after that Chiefs game was kind of what you were talking about as you were leading up to the introduction and all that, is that we got to see Bruce Arians hand over the offense a little bit more to Tom Brady. And I think that made a difference too, because we obviously scored, 31 as well. But, going back to the defensive side, just Jamel Dean being available and then, just being ready. I mean, there was the first time that the Bucks played the Chiefs, you had that Tyreek Hill backflip into the end zone with the peace sign right in Antoine Winfield's face. And then, fast forward Sunday, you saw that right back. And so I think, that's billboard type material. And for a team that's led by Tom Brady, we know what billboard material is for him. And so I think that team kind of took on his characteristics, his and remembered that. And so I think those are the big things that we saw. But Jamel Dean was huge for the Bucks to have him back. And I don't know. It felt like, to me, and you can tell me what you think too, but it felt like to me the Bucks kind of just punched the Chiefs in the face to start the game, and the Chiefs never really regained their balance.
I 100% agree with that. I was watching the game. We had a couple of friends over, and from the get-go, it just seemed like it was going to be a different game. You had Tampa Bay, their defense was immediately pressuring Patrick Mahomes. And Kansas City's defense couldn't seem to muster a pass rush. And when you have that kind of difference in the defenses playing, it completely shook the receivers for Kansas City. Travis Kelce, he uncharacteristically dropped multiple passes. And then Patrick Mahomes, I want to say that I saw a stat that he scrambled for 498 yards. And when I say scrambled, in the backfield,
Side to side.
he only had 33 positive yards.
Mm. Yeah.
So
yeah.
getting that kind of pressure on him and keeping it on him,
Mm-hmm.
monstrous. And I know a lot of people are talking about some of the throws that he made when he was going to the ground and all this stuff. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Patrick Mahomes is a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. And he didn't exactly have a lot of help because his guys were dropping passes, to be honest with you. But, he did throw 2 interceptions, one of which being a batted back ball. But, Tampa's defense just balled out.
Yeah. And I think that's also, too, I think that's been a story for the Bucs all season. In multiple games that they won, the defense bailed them out in really tough situations. But when you have Tom Brady on your team, that's who's going to get that attention. You know what I mean? And so the media is going to talk about Tom, and Tom wins another one, and Tom throws 3 touchdown passes as Bucs beat, fill in the blank, right? And so there is that constant. But, the reality is, as somebody that watched every game, that defense has been doing that at a high level. Even last year with Jameis Winston, that defense was doing similar things. We didn't exactly see what we saw this year, but they were doing similar things. Was Jameis Winston was turning it over. And now you fast forward, Tom's on the team. He's not turning it over as much. But even in that Green Bay game in the second half, Tom 3 interceptions that could have possibly changed the complexion of that game. But the defense held Green Bay's offense, and that made a big difference. And I think that just, carried all the way through into the Super Bowl.
Yeah. When you have a defense that's playing at, top 10, top 5, even top 2 at times, it takes a lot of pressure off the offense.
Yeah.
And especially for Tom Brady, where he's coming into a team where he didn't get an offseason, he didn't get a preseason, he didn't get to work with a lot of these guys. God, Antonio Brown was signed week 8.
5 minutes ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of pressure off him having to be Superman, which is what everybody's used to. And some stats that we've got from the game and I don't want to just be a stat guy, but Tampa Bay had 10 quarterback hits, 3 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss, and 9 passes defensed. When you compare that to what Kansas City did, Kansas City only had 2 quarterback hits. And Tom Brady's not a mobile quarterback.
No, nowhere near as mobile as Patrick, was, even with the injury.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're not getting to the quarterback in that capacity, 2 quarterback hits and 1 sack, when your offense is giving up 3 sacks and 10 quarterback hits, it's really tough.
Yeah. And I think the Chiefs, too, started off kind of in a bad situation with, number one, obviously, Patrick Mahomes' injury, and then add to that the fact, Mike Remmers at left tackle hasn't played a snap at left tackle since 2016. They got 7th-rounders and undrafted free agents all across that line, And so it was kind of a recipe, and that's why I had predicted, and you saw most of the analysts, you were talking about it, most of the analysts, ESPN, even Las Vegas, had the Chiefs as favorites, but I predicted it in the pregame show. I predicted an 11-point win, which at that point was like crazy to think about that because Patrick Mahomes had never been beat by more than 1 possession, right? And so I predicted an 11-point win, and even that was like crazy. But it was a bad spot for Kansas City, and Patrick really I think did as much as he could do. But like you said, Kelsey and Tyreek Hill had some uncharacteristic drops that really changed the game early. And it didn't feel right. Like, it just never felt like the Chiefs, and I think Kelsey still finished with over 100 yards receiving, but it didn't feel like it, right? And then you say the sacks, you say 3 sacks. It definitely felt like he was sacked way more than 3 times.
Absolutely.
What I mean? So,
and he was picking himself off the turf constantly.
Nonstop, right.
Yeah, and what you were saying, Kelsey went 10 for 133. And it didn't
feel
seem like that.
Nope.
I mean, Gronk only had 6 for 67.
Felt like he had 150, right? I mean,
no kidding.
So it was just uncharacteristic.
It seemed like Gronk every time he turned around was catching a pass.
Yeah.
But I mean, Brady only had 8 incompletions.
Right. Yeah, he was pretty efficient with the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I had pointed out, here when I was watching the game was Kansas City was actually effective running the ball.
Yeah.
The downside was that they fell behind and they couldn't continue to run the rock unless they wanted to just grind the clock out and lose the game that way. Because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was averaging 7.1
on the ground. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And when you can do that, typically you look at that and go, well, that team's going to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's crazy, too, is that's against the number 1 ranked rush defense in the NFL. If anything was known about Tampa, it's that we defended the run really well. That's what, everybody, everybody that was analyzing the game from ESPN, NFL Network, all that, they were like, well, the Bucs will hang their hat on the run defense, right? And so, and then, like you said, Edwards-Helaire, 64, so he was doing fine with 7.1 on the ground, but it's just they were dug into a hole so quickly that, it just changed the complexion of the game. And then a lot of undisciplined penalties by the Chiefs, which was, I feel, pretty uncharacteristic of that team. But a lot of penalties, of course, that hurt them as well.
Yeah. And one thing that I did notice with Tyreek Hill, just going back to him a little bit, and I know, the speed is obviously what really helps him, but there was times when he was running his routes that it was almost like he was breaking them off, and Mahomes was not expecting him to.
Mm-hmm.
And that caused some sailed passes, because Mahomes had 23 incomplete passes, and some of them were batted balls, some of them sailed, dropped passes, obviously, and Tyreek Hill just seemed shook.
Yeah, they all did. They all did. I think it was the amount of pressure that Mahomes was under, and I feel like they could probably, because even Mahomes seemed shook early on, and I feel like, they could probably feel that in the huddle, right? I mean, that, I think Mahomes is a good leader, but he's still, I think we forget he's still relatively young. He's not been in the league for 15 years.
Right.
You would expect by the way that he plays that he's been in the league for 15 years, but he hasn't. He's still relatively new, and I feel like they had him shook early. And then, you go back and you look at the stats, and he hasn't failed to score a touchdown since high school or pee-wee football or something ridiculous like that. So I mean, it was rough, I think, for him, and I think they could feel that, because that translated especially into the drops that we talk about later in the game, was that lack of just, I don't know, focus or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I agree, he definitely seemed out of sorts.
Definitely. And just some things here that Dan Orlovsky had mentioned, and this is where the 498 yards of scrambling came from. But right there, the Buccaneers played single coverage on Hill 0 times. And the single coverage is what killed them last time. I mean, he had 200-plus yards in the first quarter?
In the first half, I believe it was,
Yeah, so, and again, Brady clean. I mean, he literally got hit, 4 times?
Right.
So, just absolutely dominating performance. And what we were talking about earlier with Bruce Arians being able to step away from control of the offense, so to speak, and really focus on a defensive game plan.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be able to focus on. You can't necessarily be worried about putting points up against the Chiefs. You've got to be able to put that focus in with the defense.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, there was a lot of concern, I think, before the season started with Tom Brady entering this new system. It's well known that Arians' system is very aggressive, right? Carson Palmer joins his system in 2013, proceeds to throw 22 interceptions, the most he throws in his career. Jameis Winston, 2019. And yeah, granted, Jameis has been turnover prone, but 30 interceptions, right? The whole 30 for 30 year. And so I think that at the beginning of the season, Bruce was really focused on, hey, let's make sure that Tom understands and protects the ball. Because Bruce said that at the end of the last year. He's like, hey, we don't turn the ball over, we win some more games, obviously talking about Jameis Winston and all that. So there was that focus on making sure that Tom understood the offense. And then once they kind of moved away from that, then you kind of get that focus from onto the defense. And Todd Bowles, obviously a phenomenal job. But I mean, even Brady, I know 12 interceptions for him this year, and that's not a whole lot, but that's up there in terms of his career. It's like 6th or 7th. I mean, he had a couple early years where he had 14 picks. And then 13 picks, but 12 is tied for his third most in his career, so it's actually still kind of a lot, even though it's not a lot, right? It's just we expect so much different from Tom Brady. But yeah, once they started focusing on that defense and really playmaking, getting the pass rush going and all that, it was obviously downhill from there for them because at one point the Bucs are 7-5, and then they rattle off wins, right? Wins in a row, all the way through the playoffs, and don't lose. So that was a big deal, I think.
And you brought up Jameis Winston. Perfect segue, by the way. Since you're a Bucs fan, obviously you know Jameis Winston's play very well. Let me ask you what your thoughts are on New Orleans next year and whether Jameis Winston is going to get the starting nod.
I don't think he is, and I personally, as a Bucs fan, I watched him. He has talent, man, and people that say he's a scrub, I don't know that they've really watched him. There's a lot of people that feel that way about him. He has talent, but you're going to get turnovers. You cannot remove that part of his game. Like, there's no fixing it. People have tried. It doesn't happen. He's going to throw picks. But it's just about how comfortable you are with him throwing, 15 to 20 a year. That's just what he's going to do. But you look at some of the other guys around the league, there's some arms that are not as good as his, not as accurate. His deep ball is a pretty good ball. Not a lot of arms can make that throw. He's a good kid. He's mature. He's smart. He's had some obviously off the field issues in the past. But that has seemed to be somewhat corrected. And he has said since then all of the right things. And honestly, it's hard, I watched the press conferences and all that, and after having done that for 5 years with him, it's hard not to like him as a guy, and I think he has some talent, but I don't know that Sean Payton is going to be okay with the interceptions. I don't know if that's going to be his thing, and then of course this thing is Sean Payton has this, I don't know, this infatuation with Taysom Hill and the money that he's given him, and so I don't understand it. As a Bucs fan, I appreciate it because. Yeah, focus on that guy. But yeah, I don't know that he'll get the starting nod there. It'll be tough. He got cap problems like no other. I don't even know how they play football this year. They're like negative $74 million in cap.
Well, and I saw that Drew Brees restructured his contract. Right. That'll help a lot because that I think I saw somewhere it freed up like 20-something million.
Yeah, so they were at 101 million negative, and then the 24 million or 25 million that's cleared brings them to negative 74. Yeah. So I don't even know where they're going to find, I have no idea where they're going to find that money. And then, of course, then you also, speaking of the Saints, you have that Alvin Kamara situation where it looks like he didn't want to wear the contact tracing, thing. And so that was an ongoing issue all season. Yep. So, yeah, for me personally, no love lost for the Saints. They have beaten a dead horse with the Buccaneers for years. I mean, they've been talking mess for years, and we haven't been good until this year. So I'm like, why are you still talking about arguably the worst team in the division? You know what I mean? So yeah, but no love lost for me. But yeah, in terms of going back to your original question with Jameis, I don't think he'll get the nod. I think he ends up somewhere else. I just don't know where.
So you think they're going to trade him?
I think they'll either trade him or let him go. I'm not super familiar with this contract. I thought it was just a 1 year, so he may be a free agent that needs to be re-signed, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks that we're going to see new places.
Yeah.
And I got doing some research, and one of the things that I said a couple weeks ago is we may see the biggest year for a change of face at quarterback for teams because there's at least 12 teams are going to have a new starting quarterback this next year. Mm-hmm. And I looked a little further into it, and the biggest year I believe I found was 1999.
Wow.
19 teams had a new quarterback from the previous year. Wow, what was going on in 1999? I'm wondering, was there something, is there some... We had the Browns come back.
Okay.
And so who would have been the bounce team with them? Because it couldn't have been just one. Because we had... man, I'd have to look back and see.
Yeah.
But I know we had a fair amount of quarterbacks retire, that 80s quarterbacks that retired. And then free agency. Thank you, David. David just chimed in. It was the Texans.
Okay,
That's who it
okay,
was.
yeah, okay.
So right there was 2 quarterbacks out of 17 existing teams.
Right,
But
right.
still, that's
Still a lot, yeah.
That's a ton.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of the news that was broken over the weekend, it sounds like Carson Wentz is not going to be an Eagle past maybe Wednesday or Thursday. It sounds like a couple of teams are already knocking at the door for him, and we may see him a Bear. We might see him an Indianapolis Colt. Adam Schefter tweeted out that apparently he does not want to stay, and it's coming to fruition this week.
Yeah.
And the Eagles have been fielding offers, and it sounds to me like they're just waiting for the right offer. I know that the Jared Goff, Matt Stafford trade keeps getting brought up, and it sounds like the Eagles are after a more of a Matthew Stafford side of it than a Jared Goff side of it.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to get that because of the contract size.
Yeah, and I feel like that was the complication. A lot of people were really down on the Jared Goff Stafford trade for the Rams side and how much they had to give up. But I've been reminding people they did a lot of what they did to get out of Jared Goff's contract. They had to pay to get out of that contract. It wasn't just going to be, hey, here's a swap for a swap. That contract was huge, and the Lions are in a position to absorb it. And, for them, if it works out, it works out. But the Rams had to pay a premium for that, and I think it's a similar situation with Wentz and where he's going to end up. Do you, I'll ask you, how do you feel about Carson Wentz? You think he's still, you like him? You kind of down on him?
So, I'm an NDSU guy.
Yeah.
And I went to college at NDSU.
Right.
I'm a big Carson Wentz fan.
Okay.
And I think he's still got it. I think he went through some fragility with his psyche.
Yeah.
Because the team literally did not build around him.
No, yeah.
And it did from my opinion on the outside looking in, it seemed like he lost confidence in the franchise because he felt the franchise lost confidence in him.
Yeah.
And it's that fragile mentality of a quarterback that's borderline kicker-esque. That once you get shook, it's really
hard
tough
to
to
rebound.
bounce back.
Yeah. I agree, and I think, to me, like I still believe in him. I think for him though, going to your point about that, struggling with his psyche, I think he needs to go to the right team. He needs to go to a team that believes in him and, more importantly, has pieces. If he goes to a team that doesn't, let's say, for example, some sort of, I don't think it's happened, it will happen, but to give an example, some sort of Carson Wentz for Deshaun Watson, something like that. If he goes to a team like the Texans that still have a lot of questions, I don't know that I can see him regaining his MVP form. Like I said, I don't think, that would be a swap that would happen. But just as an example, a Colt.
Uh-oh. We lost you again. You froze. Oh, we lost Mark. Can you hear me, Mark? Hang on, guys. I always love when screens freeze. Uh-oh. Yep, lost him completely. Dang. He'll be back, though. He's just got to call back in. Yes, David, I'm a big Trey Lance fan. We all know that. Mark, if you're listening, just go ahead and call back in. see here. But yeah, it does sound like Carson Wentz, my personal feeling is if he goes to the right team and he's got the support and the franchise invests in him, he could be back. He could be back to MVP caliber seasons like he had before. There we go. We got Mark back.
Hey, brother. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Sorry about that, man. I don't know what's going on with my internet tonight, man.
All good. It happens.
I'm like going in, I'm like having a whole conversation, and then I see you freeze, and I'm like, oh. Anyways.
You should have seen, when this is over, go back and watch the replay. The look on your face was pretty funny.
I was going in, right? Like, I was like, ah. Good stuff. But yeah.
So, Carson Wentz, you were saying if he goes to a right team with a right culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, just like a Colts, that's kind of where I was going to, is like a Colts type fit. I think their head coach, obviously is a great offensive mind. Somewhere just that gives him the support that he needs, that has some sort of built-in offensive line, that is going to care for their quarterback. There are a lot of franchises out there that just, struggle to for some reason, they struggle to draft for their quarterback, to give him support. So if he ends up on the right team, I could see him regaining his MVP form, because it's not, like you said, to me, it's not a talent issue with him. It's got to be a mental issue, because he has the talent. We saw that, and that doesn't just, magically disappear.
Yeah. And I know some of the Colts fans don't want him there, and most of it has nothing to do with his play. It's the contract.
Yeah.
And I do believe that the number one landing spot for him should be Indy, because Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator in Philly when he had his best 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense as a perfect fit.
Yeah.
The talk of him going to Chicago scares the bejeebus out of me, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because I just see Chicago in this scenario as another Philadelphia.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I don't think Chicago is the right fit for Carson. It might be a good fit for the Bears because I feel like they might want a guy to try to build around or whatever. But I think for Carson, I don't know that that's a good situation. And if you're a Bears fan and you kind of want that to happen, you want to get Carson over there. I don't know. I'd be a little scared that he goes over there and doesn't perform, and then you're stuck with this contract and a not performing QB, which is not something that a place that they want to be. So I don't know if the Bears are the right. He's not a guy, in my opinion, that fits in 100 different places, right? I think there's 1 or 2 places that are the right fit for him, and if they can accept the contract, then that's the move, especially in terms of speaking on Carson's behalf and what's best for him.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the amount of weapons that he'd have in Chicago would be quite parallel to the weapons that he had in Philly.
Yeah.
So at least with Indy, he's got some young talent.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a good run game.
Right.
And I think
offensive line solid. Yeah. Offensive line is, not great, but solid. Quentin Nelson's a monster. And then, going to, speaking about what we started speaking about, the Bucs, the Colts are expected to pursue, according to Schefter, I think it was Schefter that tweeted that they want to pursue Chris Godwin. So, if that happens, then, that's a whole thing in of itself too. So, I feel like that's a good fit for him. But with Deshaun Watson still being, I know their GM came out and said he's not moving, but with that, I think still being up in the air, what's going to happen there? That's another question. And like you said, I think there's a lot of dominoes that need to fall. But once the first one falls, I think you'll kind of see that whole row fall at the same time where the quarterbacks end up.
Well, and in terms of Nick Caserio saying that they weren't going to get rid of Watson, it reminds me a lot of the Khalil Mack situation when he got out of Oakland. Because Gruden and Mayock swore up and down that Khalil Mack was going to stay.
Right.
And then 2 months later they traded him because Khalil Mack wouldn't answer their calls. He wouldn't return emails. He wouldn't return texts. He basically just said, F you guys.
Right, yeah.
So if Deshaun Watson plays hardball similar to that, I can't see how Caserio would be like, you know what, let's keep this guy on the roster and pay him $40 million this year, even though he's not going to step foot on the field. Because even with the fines and stuff that he'd pay, he's still going to walk away with $30 million come end of the year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Deshaun's not worried about those fines. I can guarantee you that his pocketbook is not worried about those fines. So if the Texans, wanna go ahead and if in my opinion, it's hard though as an organization, but in my opinion, he gave them a chance. He gave them everything that he had. I mean, has been running for his life for a while now, and if they, as a Texans fan, if they want to fault anyone, I think it's Bill O'Brien, not Deshaun Watson. It's Bill O'Brien coming in there and trading everybody away and this, that, and the other thing, draft picks and, trading away Hopkins, all that stuff that happened, I think is more to blame than Deshaun Watson in this situation, at least.
I agree with that 100%, especially the Bill O'Brien comment.
Yeah.
A lot of people for the last few years have been talking about how he is hurting the franchise for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
damage that he's done is it's almost to a point that it's going to take him 5+ years to come back from.
Yeah.
It's too damning in a number of places.
Mm-hmm.
The Deshaun Watson trade alone was probably one of the dumbest things I've seen in the NFL in my adult life.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
fact that they didn't even get a first round for him.
Yeah.
They gave up they got a 4th rounder, a 2nd rounder, and David Johnson. And
Yeah.
I like David Johnson. I think he's
Yeah.
a good running back.
Yeah, I think so too.
But he's not, because essentially Houston and Arizona swapped 4th rounders.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about now David Johnson plus a 2nd rounder equaling DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. That's arguably the best wide receiver in the league, guaranteed easily top 3.
Yes.
So I don't think anybody in the NFL understood it. And like you said, he damaged that. Bill O'Brien damaged that franchise for a few years, and that's why I feel like as a Texans fan, as hard as it is to get over the idea that Deshaun might be leaving, I don't know that there's anything, because the price that you're going to get for him, I mean, you saw what happened with the Goff Stafford. What you should get back for Deshaun could be the start of rebuilding, and it may not take 5 years at that point. But at where they're at right now, they're not winning anything anytime soon, even if they were to keep Deshaun. They have so many holes on that team. J.J. Watt is obviously aging, so there's some questions there, and I feel like if you're a Texans fan, like I said, it might be hard to get over the idea of getting rid of them, but you're gonna have to restart at some point. Why prolong that? And you curse Bill Bryan until kingdom come, because he's the one that did it. But yeah.
Well, and it sounds like JJ might not even be there next year.
Right.
It sounds like he wants out.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about, what do you get back for JJ? First rounder, a first rounder?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? As far as Deshaun Watson goes, he's definitely the opposite of the conversation that you have with Carson Wentz, even though they have similar contracts.
Right.
You're talking about a guy who's regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, who led the league in passing yards, and he's going to fetch 3 or 4 first-round picks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas Wentz, you got to pay somebody to take his contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because Deshaun, he's worth every penny in that contract, and a contending team, would be excellent for him, and he elevates them, and he's honestly way better, I think, than he even gets credit for. I think Deshaun's amazing. He's phenomenal. Actually, sports card show, I have a Deshaun rookie auto from Clemson. I'm a big Deshaun fan. But yeah, I mean, I think he's an excellent, excellent player. So yeah, you get what you pay for with that guy. If you're a team that trades for Deshaun, you at least know what you're getting, and you're getting a shot. As long as you have a team, you're getting a shot at a Super Bowl, I think, without question.
Switching gears for a second, as far as the teams we're talking about, does Jimmy Garoppolo play for the 49ers again?
I don't think so, but I don't really know what they do. But no, I don't think so. And I don't think he was ever that good. I mean, it was really one of those situations where Bill Belichick somehow brings these backup quarterbacks in and makes them look like, amazing players, and then, there they go. There you go, and then you trade them away. But no, I don't think he should, and I don't think he will.
And I don't want to say that he played bad for San Francisco, but if you
They
look
were
at the
banged up.
amount of what's that?
Sorry, I said they were banged up for sure. So it wasn't,
Yes.
strictly Garoppolo playing bad. They were really banged up.
And the only season that he played 16 games, he took them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other 3 seasons that he was with them, he didn't play more than 8 games.
Right.
So that's where, if you're John Lynch, you've got to look at, is it worth keeping a liability at quarterback with the potential of hitting a Super Bowl if he plays 16 games?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the question with him is, and see, the thing is, to me, even in that year that he did take him to the Super Bowl, did you feel like, maybe I'm way off, but did you feel like he was an elite, top tier, top 5, top 3 quarterback? Did you, or do you feel like that was a product of the team and the environment and the coaching?
I don't necessarily say if I would say he was elite by any stretch of the imagination, but I also would say that he was, I think he can be dangerous. I think part of it for me was I was looking at it as, this guy's been injured the last couple of years.
Right.
Like, he's finally starting to figure it out. And maybe if he got 2 or 3 more full seasons in a row, he could be a top 10 quarterback. But I just feel like it's been such a small sample size of the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put that kind of backing behind him.
Right. Yeah, and that's fair. I guess, to me, I regard Kyle Shanahan very highly. I think John Lynch, I know I'm a Bucs fan, but I think John Lynch has done an excellent job as GM of that team as well. The things, obviously the Solomon pick, a little bit. But other than that, outside of that, a lot of his decisions have been really good overall for the team. And so I feel like Jimmy G getting to the Super Bowl with them was more of him being a product of what they were putting on the field, the culture they were building, and more importantly, what exactly Kyle Shanahan was doing with him and making him fit in and be good for that offense. I think it's a very similar situation with Jared Goff. I mean, look, Jared Goff got to a Super Bowl. And I don't think that it's because Goff is some fantastic, amazing quarterback. I think it's because Sean McVay is a brilliant offensive mind and their defense was good. And so I feel like it was a similar situation where Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan really elevated the level of their team, and the organization really supported and pushed and made the right moves. And that's how they got there. But I don't know, I don't know that, for me personally, I don't know that Jimmy G's that guy that's going to be able to take you there, every year and just, keep you in the mix every year. I don't know that he's that guy.
Well, and 275
team,
rushing yards, 275 rushing yards a game will get you some wins.
Some positive results, absolutely. I mean, right? I mean, so, and they had weapons and they were making good use of them in the year that they made the Super Bowl. And like I said, I think that's more of a reflection of the head coach and the GM than Jimmy G. Not to say Jimmy G's, horrible. He's a starting quarterback in this league, and that's not something, 32 people in the world can say that, you know what I mean? Which is, it's still a compliment to him. But yeah, I think they should move on, and they would be wise to move on and maybe get somebody that, can give them a little bit more consistency at that position.
Do the Raiders move on from Derek Carr?
I don't think they should, but I think they will. I like Derek Carr. I don't have a problem with Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is solid. I think a lot of John Gruden's coaching is a bit antiquated. The way that he calls games, maybe a little bit too reliant on the old school way of doing it. I mean, he's going to run. Their running back's name is escaping me right now, but the kid from Alabama that is
Jacobs.
Yeah, Jacobs. He's going to run Jacobs into the ground, giving him 30 touches a game like he's doing that. But I don't know. I don't think that they should move on from him. I think he had a pretty good year. I think he's a pretty good leader. But I think they'll move on from him too. And a change of scenery might be good for both of them, I think.
Well, and here's what it boils down to. Does Derek Carr win them a championship? And that's what you have to base it on.
Yeah.
And so far, he's only got, one playoff win?
Right, I believe so, yeah.
So
the results don't exactly speak for themselves in this situation.
Exactly. And yes, you can put some of it up on the coaching, but when it boils down to it, if Derek Carr is not the fit for that offense and what Gruden wants to do, he loves Mariota. He's made that clear. Mariota's his boy.
Yeah.
So why not trade Carr, get a first rounder out of him because his contract hits or his cap hits rather low in starting quarterback terms.
Right.
It's rather low, so you literally are trading him for picks, and you don't have to worry about buying the trade.
Yeah.
And you could get a first round, maybe even a second out of it.
Yeah.
And
And I
then
think
you've already got Mariota waiting. And then you can use that additional first round pick for another wide receiver, an offensive lineman. There you go.
Right. Yeah. And I think you're probably right. Now that I'm thinking about it, you're probably right in that, if we talk the way that we did about Jimmy Garoppolo, it's probably similar with the conversation with Derek Carr. Maybe my bias showed just a little bit because I like Derek Carr a little bit more than Jimmy G. But yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things where the results kind of speak for themselves. And like I said, and maybe this goes back to the Jimmy G thing. Both of them in that situation too would also benefit from a change. So Jimmy G and the 49ers organization, and then Derek Carr and the Raiders organization would probably benefit equally in terms of a change of scenery for both of them.
Does Mitch Trubisky get signed to a team where he can play to be a starter?
I think he gets signed to a team that he can play to be a starter, but I don't think he's a starter.
What's a good fit?
I don't know. I wonder if the Panthers look in his direction. Teddy Bridgewater was supposedly floated out as a trade candidate, so that means they're not sold on him. Maybe Mitch goes down there and competes. Matt Rule might have something from his Baylor days that he can give, to a younger quarterback, an offense that he can build around him. That's maybe where I see him. I really have never really been a big believer in Mitch. Have you been a believer in him, in his time coming into the draft and all that?
I don't want to say that I'm a believer in him, but I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be.
Okay.
Matt Nagy hasn't exactly done him any favors.
Yeah, that's true.
And I say this a number of times about coaches. Coaches can make a really good quarterback look bad, and a really bad quarterback look good.
Yeah.
Just like they can do it to a GM. Yep. A GM can make, or a head coach can make a really bad GM look really
fantastic. Yeah.
And it boils down to scheme. It boils down to package usage and all that kind of stuff. And I personally believe that Mitch Trubisky has the skill set. I just don't think he's been put in the right situation. One of the situations that I've heard that could potentially be I don't want to say next quarterback move because it can't take place until March 17th, the new league year, is Denver signing Trubisky.
That'd be an interesting one too, yeah.
Number one, it's clear they're not sold on Locke. Locke's still on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
And Trubisky, they could sign to a 1 year. Let's see, he was 2017, so he's not even into his 5th year. So he'd be signed, what is that, 2.4 mil?
I think something like that, and I'm pretty sure the Bears declined his 5th year, if I'm not mistaken. So
correct, they declined his 5th year. So we're talking leagueman for vet quarterback before 5th year, I think is right around 2.4.
Sounds right.
So they signed him at a 2.4 1-year prove it type of deal. Beats Drew Lock out as a starter. It could happen.
Yeah, and I guess the question there would be, I don't know that he beats Drew Lock out. That would be my question. I don't even know that he beats Teddy Bridgewater out if he goes to Carolina, and that's, I guess, maybe more reflective of my opinion of him. Like you said, I don't think he's the worst ever, but I don't see it with him.
He's got the physicality. I mean, let's face it. He's got the big, strong-bodied quarterback stature.
Yeah, the frame and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, which Drew Lock does not. Teddy Bridgewater does not. With the weapons that Denver has, I think would be the better fit. You have 2 young rookie wide receivers. Well, will be second year next year
right.
with Cortland Sutton, and then Noah Fant, a very good tight end, which I believe Noah Fant is going to be a top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year, but soon.
Soon, yeah.
They have a good offensive line. They have an okay run game. Picking up Melvin Gordon. Now, I haven't heard, is he coming back next year for them?
I haven't heard either, to be honest with you.
So, even if they don't, or even if he doesn't, I should say, they draft a running back.
Right, yeah, and then Philip Lindsay, of course, is there too, and they have some pieces, and then on the defensive side of the ball, the Von Miller thing is a bit of a question as well, and there's that kind of whole situation, but they have some pieces. I don't think it's a bad fit, and I think a couple teams in the NFL, like I said, would be interested in a guy like Trubisky to come in and compete. Because, competition, NFL coaches, the scene itself loves to have that competition, quarterback competition. Hey, you got to go out and earn your job, and I think that's something that that they would be, like I said, a lot of teams would be interested in. It'll just be interesting to see where he ends up. Because, finding a good starting quarterback is no easy feat, as is obvious, by the teams that have one are in it every year. The teams that don't cite the same cycle,
And as far as Carolina goes, I don't really see Carolina signing let's call it a big name free agent or really any veteran free agent to compete with Bridgewater, because they've got a cap hit on Bridgewater.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
they're the number 8 in the draft, and I don't really think there's going to be too many teams above them taking a quarterback outside of Jacksonville.
Right.
They could have Justin Fields fall to number 8.
Yeah, well, and then the thing that I'm thinking with the Panthers is if Bridgewater was already shopped in a trade, could they include him in some sort of package to move up? Could they include him to trade out and they move up and they draft some other position? Do they move up and draft a quarterback? But the fact that he was even included in trade talks to me says that they're interested, obviously interested in getting rid of him, which tells me they don't believe in him. And so that's kind of why they popped to my mind. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, because I think Trubisky is a very special fit because you have so much tape and film on him that shows that he was really bad at times and tape that shows that he was really good at times. And so it's like, who wants to take a chance on that? What team wants to take a chance on that type of performance? Because I don't know that you can say, he's been consistently one thing or the other, because he's had flashes of both. So that's kind of the, what team is willing to take a shot, and then, the whole, like I said, like we talked about earlier, the quarterback domino situation. Let's say Deshaun gets traded and they don't get a quarterback in that deal, then what about there? And just because they don't have they're not going to have a lot of options when Deshaun leaves, depending on if they get a first round pick this year for him or if that's next year or, an elite player. So that's kind of the question too, I think. Trubisky, I feel like, will be one of the later dominoes to fall. Once everything kind of goes through and people figure out where big name guys are going to be.
And we'll have to wait anyways. Even if somebody signs him, they won't announce it until after the new league year.
Exactly.
So we're a month, what is it, the 9th today? So we're a month and 8 days away.
Right.
So you'll hear all about the trade deals first, because they'll announce the trade deals that can't take effect. Mm-hmm. But a free agent signing like that, you probably won't hear anything until league year.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and if not, league year and free agency starts in the first day or two are the big name guys. And then, the 3 or 4 or 5, day 7 is when a guy like Trubisky signs for vet minimum to compete in fill in the blank,
Yep.
So, but that'll be an interesting thing to see. Like you said, it is such an interesting year with the quarterbacks, because I feels like there's going to be so much movement with the quarterbacks.
Last one I asked you about, Sam Darnold.
I still believe in Sam, man. I really still believe in Sam. He played at USC, which I won't hold against him. I'm a UCLA fan, so I won't hold that against him. I actually was higher on Sam Darnold coming out of the draft than I was on Josh Rosen. If that gives you any, perspective, I thought that he was better than Josh Rosen, and I still think that, and I still think he's the guy. I just think he was in a really tough situation in New York, and I think almost anybody would have failed in that situation. I think whoever gets him is going to be getting a really good deal. But it kind of goes back to what we talked about with Wentz. I think Sam's psyche has been so damaged. A couple years ago, there was that talk where he was seeing ghosts. I don't know if you remember that quote, but he was like seeing ghosts on the field. So I think that idea and the psyche repair that's going to need to happen for Sam Darnold is going to be extensive. So it's got to be the right situation. But he has the tools. He has the talent. We saw it more at USC than we did at New York. But trust me, the tools are there. And if he ends up in the right situation, it would be great for him. I actually would love to see him end up sitting behind Brady for a couple years. I mean, I would be stoked to see that. I don't think that happens, but it'd be nice.
Which is what everybody thought Josh Rosen was going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he ends up in San Fran.
Right, and I was stoked when we signed him on the practice squad. I was, excited. It's not often that you get, you being a Carson Wentz fan, it's not often that you get a guy from your favorite college at your favorite professional team. That doesn't happen very often. And so when it does happen, even just on a practice squad, for like the perfect fit, because Rosen is actually a lot like Tom and his skill set and ability. And so I was excited to see that. But I understand why he left, obviously back to California and to a really good offensive coordinator. He didn't leave Tampa for, Jacksonville. He left it for Kyle Shanahan in a really good situation down there. So totally understood that.
Can Darnold still be successful in New York?
It's going to take a lot of TLC. It's going to take a lot of TLC, man. Robert Saleh needs to come in there and just really I don't know, just help him out. But I mean, I think he can, but it's also tough because how long will it be before they build a team around him? I mean, it's going to be 2 years before they have some pieces, 3 maybe even,
Well, they've got the number 2 this year.
I'd trade out of it, man. I would trade out of that number 2.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. They should trade down and pick up 2 more picks.
Yeah,
at least.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I mean, especially when you're talking about Justin Fields sitting there at number 2, maybe trade out to the Panthers or to Washington and pick up 2 first-rounders, draft an offensive lineman, draft a wide receiver, and LaFleur is now the OC, Mike LaFleur, which is the brother to Green Bay head coach Matt LaFleur, the former 49ers OC as well. So it makes me think that, because number one, if I'm LaFleur and I'm coming in and I got Sam Darnold as my quarterback, I'm licking my damn chops.
Absolutely.
and given the product that was on the field for the Jets the last several years under Adam Gase, I'm looking at that roster going, we got some sleeper potential here. Now, I'm not saying they're going to come out and compete for the AFC East by any stretch of the imagination. But you're in a Browns situation now, 2 years ago, when coming out and being a 6-win team is a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, show some signs of life, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're all saying, is show some signs of life. Saleh comes in there, or I don't know if it's, I would assume it's pronounced Saleh. Anyways, Saleh comes in there and, is able to show some signs of life, like you said. I mean, I think that's great for them. They drafted Mekhi Becton. Becton looks like he's going to be a monster for years to come. CJ Mosley comes back, obviously. So, I mean, there's pieces. It's not going to be, a playoff team necessarily, but, show some life, give Sam a chance, let him develop. And it's almost like you have to reset with Darnold. You have to reset like, hey, this is his rookie year again. So let's, simple offense, and you just reset and allow him to reset his brain from the emotional trauma that Adam Gase put him through and what that offense and team was. And hopefully he can reset. So I think he can still have success in New York. It's just going to be a couple years before we see that success manifesting into wins and, playoff competition and all that. It's not going to be next year for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I honestly believe that LaMichael Pirine could be a decent running back for him.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. We'll see if Frank Gore decides to retire. No, I'm just kidding.
The inconvenient truth.
Yeah.
I love Frank Gore.
I do, man. I do too. He's been here for a while, but it might be time to let some of the young bucks get. And you know what? Respect to Frank Gore for sitting on that team through that year that they just had and giving them what he had left. Because I mean that's impressive. That
Yeah.
would be, because I mean we just saw a couple of years ago Vontae Davis walk out at halftime with with the Bills, right? So I feel like Frank Gore would have done that, and we would all been like, yeah, that's that makes sense, right? Nobody would have been like, wow, I can't believe it. Everybody would just been like, all right,
I'd have
well,
been like,
yeah,
hey, Frank.
yeah, right. Hey, man,
Good
enjoy
career, man.
retirement. Exactly. Yeah, right. So, yeah, he did well, but yeah, we'll see how they look going forward. The Jets are actually a team that I have vested interest in as well on the side because I like Sam, and I
Yeah,
really think he's good. So we'll see how that works out.
right on. Before I let you go, promote what you got going on. Start with your podcast. We haven't really had a chance
Yeah.
to talk about that.
Yeah, so Dropping a Dime podcast. Me and my co-host, we do 2 episodes a week. We do NFL and NBA. The feel of it is like satirical. We like to laugh, joke, and have fun. Um, but we also provide some analysis in there and kind of the way that it's very similar to the way you and I, just interacted. And so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
check that out. Like I said, NFL, NBA, 2 episodes a week, and we kind of walk through that. He's a Patriots fan, so he's still sad about Brady leaving. So there's a lot of talk about that. But yeah, so there's that. And
What
then
platform is that on?
that's on everything. Spotify, not iHeartRadio. It's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, everything that you can find it on. It's on. And then if you want updates on that, of course, follow me at BucksFan02 on Twitter. I regulate that and all that kind of stuff. So
Awesome.
yeah. And then if I could plug too as well, you mentioned it in the introduction. I used to work for an orphanage in Africa. If anybody's interested in that, it's passioncenterforchildren.org. Passioncenterforchildren.org. It's an orphanage in Malawi, Africa. It's a nonprofit 501c3. Basically, the pictures that you see, a lot of those pictures on the website are pictures that I took, kids that I've met. I've been over there for 5 times, I think it was, and I've been in country for probably about 4 or 5 months of time, combined. I was part of the team that would I was part of the leadership team that would take teams out there to do charity work and kind of work with them and do that. So if you're interested in that, you of course get a donation receipt and all of that. So at the end of the year or now, if you're looking for somewhere to donate, it's a cause that's special to my heart, because I know the kids and I know who's getting the money and I know where it's going and I've seen the financials. I know everything about it. So if you're interested in donating to that, please do. And I appreciate you, Ryan, for letting me shout that out. But yeah,
Anytime.
yeah.
Say the name of it again.
It's passioncenterforchildren.org. And that's just
passioncenterforchildren.org.
yeah, and that's just all the words spelled fully out, and you'll run into it and you'll see. And you can donate to different causes on there. If you want to sponsor a child, you can do that. Or if you want to donate to the medical side of it, you can do that. Sports side, you can do that. You can donate in a million different ways. And like I said, I know where all the money goes, and it's a trustworthy organization that I worked for 5 years. So yeah, it's yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight, man. And
Thank you so much
we'll
for having
be talking
me.
again soon sometime.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Next time we can stick around. I'll hang out. We can do the box break, and I can maybe bring some of my cards. I got the Deshaun somewhere around here, and you can see I got memorabilia up behind me and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah,
Absolutely. Show off some of the PC.
That's right. That's right.
I appreciate it, man. All right. Co-host of the Dropping a Dime podcast, Marc Magana.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. That was fun. All right. Episode 21, my first guest of the year, my first guest of SSH Live. That was a lot of fun. I am going to take these things off now because these things are screwing with me with the feedback I'm getting. I'm hearing myself after I hear myself the first time, so it's like that's kind of been part of the problem with listening to it as I'm doing the show. So let me close this out real quick. All right. Boom. All right, guys. So I'm going to switch this around real quick, and then we are going to do our box rip for the night. So just give me 1 second. You're going to hear me cut out for a second. Don't worry about the sound. I'm not too worried about the sound. I got to switch the camera around. All right. How do you guys like the new graphics? You digging that? I got this stuff set up now so that I can actually have transition screens and um, working on all the extra goodies for the show now, so that it's not just some boring half-ass show. It's a lot of fun. I like playing with the new stuff. Oh man, can't wait though till I can hire and have physically here a production manager to go through and do all the screen changing for me. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the growth over the next year. All right, so we are going to break a box tonight. Topps Gold Label 2020. I want to thank Fanatics for the box this time. And also, I guess, thank Costco as well, because I did buy one of the $100 gift cards for $80, so I saved $20 on my box when I bought it anyways. So got the box from fanatics.com. Go check it out. Hopefully, crossing my fingers that I get approved for brand ambassador for Fanatics, so you guys will actually see some advertisements for Fanatics on the show as well. So we are going to rip this box, and then we're going to do some giveaways for it. Okay, 2020 Topps Gold Label Baseball. We get one auto per box. And they're framed autos. I really do like this product. It's not a, in my opinion, I don't call it one of those big home run type of products. And this is the pack that has the auto in it. It's not one of those big home run products, but in my opinion, it's more of a sleeper product. It's not an overly valuable product, but it's a fun product because of the different tiers. So if you haven't seen this year, or I should say 2020 Gold Labels cards, as you can see on the back there how it says class, you have your 3 different classes, and then you have different colored parallels with it as well. So this is just a Class 1 base. And there we go, right out the gate. Kyle Lewis, Class 1 red parallel out of 75. Boom. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Number 26 of 75. Kyle Lewis, red Class 1 rookie. Woo! And there's a Class 3, if you can see in the back there. Class 3 rookie, not rookie, Class 3 Shohei Ohtani. And then a Class 2 George Springer. And then a Class 1 Cal Ripken. And one of the other distinctions with this, with each different class, one of the pictures changes as well. So if we get 2 of the same player from a different class, I will show the difference between them. There's Sonny Gray. Xander Bogaerts. This is the black back to it, if you can tell the difference on camera. So here's your standard, and then there's the black background. eBay 1 of 1, yes. Xander Bogaerts, and then we get the black George Springer as well. And then we go over to a Robin Yount. And then there's the Ohtani Class 1. Was the Ohtani before Class 1? Okay, so here you go. The Ohtani before was Class 3. So if you notice the difference between Class 1 and Class 3, so the picture does change as well. So fun little distinction between them. Oh. And then we go Tim Anderson Class 1. And then we get a blue Robin Yount out of 99, Class 2. Clayton Kershaw, Class 3. We get a Mark McGwire, Class 2. And then another Clayton Kershaw, the Class 1 version. I want to say the only rookie we've gotten so far has been the Kyle Lewis. I'm correct. We've only gotten the one rookie card, and it was the banger. Class 1 is the base, and then obviously Class 2, Class 3. You get more Class 1 in every pack than any other one. Devers, Pujols, Kepler, Griffey, Class 2 Griffey, excuse me. And then we get our second rookie card of the box, Brendan McKay. Giancarlo Stanton, Class 1. Brendan McKay, another one. This one's the Class 3. Trey Turner, Tatis, Class 1. And then an A.J. Puck, Class 1. So now the rookies are finally starting to come out. We get Kutch, Class 1. Zach Gallen, rookie, Class 1. Jose Altuve, black, Class 1. Blake Snell, Class 2. And Masahiro Tanaka, Class 1. All right. Last pack, and this is going to contain our auto and 2 base cards. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the front card off. So our first card is a black Class 1 Acuna. And our auto Jalen Davis, rookie auto. Not numbered on this one. Still nice cards because that is a metal frame to it. They're pretty solid. But Jalen Davis, rookie auto. And then there's the Moncada Class 1 base. So that was one box of 2020 Gold Label Baseball, highlighted with the Kyle Lewis, numbered out of 75, rookie card. Yes, they do have a satisfying weight to them. They are heavy cards, and they're thick. These are 180 point top loader required. So, okay, so giveaway. Let's do the Jalen Davis. I'm just going to give away the auto. So we're going to give away the Jalen Davis auto. And I'm going to give away the 4 rookies with the Robin Yount in another prize pack. Sorry, guys, I'm not giving away the Kyle Lewis because that's PC for me. Sorry. You know what, I won't. I was going to say I'll throw in the rest of the base, but that's going to be a pain in the butt. So we'll do these 5 cards. And then the rookie auto is one as well. So we're going to give away that one to the first spot, that one to the second spot. Okay, you guys are going to have to bear with me for a second because I need to change my screens and my template real quick, so give me a second to get everything changed over so that I can pull up the randomizer. You're going to lose my sound for a second again, just hang tight. All right. Come on. Okay, so there's that. And then I need to web page. Random.org. Dice roller. Do. Alright guys, everybody in the room, just type me in the chat so I can start loading names for the randomizer. If you want to win anyways, I guess I should say. Alright, we got David Miller. We got Donnie. We got Shane. We got Taylor. We got Zeus. We got Jordan. Anybody else that wants in? I'm going to go roll the dice while we're waiting. Rolling 2 dice, so we're going to be randomizing the list 8 times. Anybody else that wants on? Alright, cutting it off then. So we're going to randomize 8 times on the list. Everybody's entered. Good luck. One, 2. I want to make this a little bit bigger so that I don't have to keep scrolling. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th and final time. Good luck, everybody. Winners, Jordan takes home the Jalen Davis auto. Shane wins the rookie pack with Robin Yount. Congratulations to the winners. Jordan, here's your prize. And Shane, your prize. Snap a picture of that real quick like. Boom. All right. Congratulations, winners. Okay, so if you missed the intro to the show tonight, a couple of things coming out. We have Optic Football Hobby hitting stores tomorrow. So make sure you go grab your boxes. They are going up and up and up. Sell spots in a break. Optic Football, yes. Grab your boxes because they're only going up. Topps Series 1 baseball releases tomorrow as well. Both hobby boxes and jumbo boxes. So grab those also because those have also been climbing. So get those boxes ordered ASAP to get the first look at the rookies for the 21 rookie class for baseball. Next week we have certified basketball coming out on the 17th, and it looks like limited football comes out on the 19th by the looks of it. So those will be dropping mid and end of next week, so make sure you get your pre-orders in for those as well. That looks to be about it for sports card releases for the next week and a half. So next week we'll be back talking more sports. Got another special guest lined up for next week to talk a little bit as well. Um, so I appreciate you guys jumping on today and episode 21, and we're gonna continue building and continue flying, and we're gonna enjoy the growth of the show. And make sure you guys are telling your friends, get them in here, because as I mentioned, the getting the channel growth higher gives me the ability to potentially give away more stuff. Working on a deal with a couple of potential sponsors, but we got to show some growth. And if I can get some growth in here, I can give away more cool stuff. We can maybe get some hookups on stuff that I can give away in the show from said sponsors. But we got to get those. We got to get people in here. So let's start relying on everybody to tell your friends, get them in here, bring them in. Have fun. They don't necessarily have to be sports card people if they're just sports people. Let's get people in here for the chats. Let's get people in here for the fun. Let's make it a good time, and let's continue building. And as always, I definitely appreciate you guys being in here with me and being a part of the growth. And I will see you guys all here next Tuesday, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific time, on YouTube, exclusively on Sports Stuff Hub YouTube channel. Thanks a lot, guys, and we will see you next week.